and welcome back to the Guitar Souls. I was going to say episode 15, but this kind of feels like episode 14.5 because we're doing it at the same time as the last one, and there'll probably only be a few days between these going up, knowing how impatient I can be, but yeah, that's what happens. So I am your host today, Mr. Levi Clay, and I am here with Mike McLaughlin of Party Cannon fame, as always, giving us the fingers. But thank you for joining us. I mean, it's your show too. So.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, so this was a bit of a struggle. We haven't put up an episode in like 15 days, so we met up and we've done an episode, and then I said, well, why don't we just film another little quick something? And the problem with that is we got to the end of the first episode and was like, well, what the hell are we going to actually talk about?
Yeah, and then Levi went, oh, I know, I'm not going to tell you what we're going to talk about, but we'll film anyway. So yeah. Apologies in advance if this is fucking terrible.
Yeah, but before we do that, we're really into like viewer interaction, and we love it when you guys make suggestions to us. We talked about the John Fulbright album.
Thanks, Andy.
And just recently, one of our viewers sent an album that they'd like to have submitted to the album club. And we've taken a listen to it, and we thought we could give some feedback on that. So I am just going to go through my history to double check what it was called.
Yes.
Here we go.
Imperial Triumphant, the album being called Violet Luxury. Released this year. For more information on it, if we can scroll down. Sorry. July 13th it came out on Throat Ruiner Records and Gilead Media. Levi, do you want to?
I don't know what to make of this album.
Yeah.
So this, I think it's an entire genre of music that I don't have a strong connection with, which is like the blackened sound. And they seem to, well, I'm not going to say they missed the point because I don't know enough or care enough about the genre to levy that sort of criticism. But I always think of that blackened sound as being quite underproduced, like very underground. This is very produced, very well produced. And actually, I mean, I say that. I know there's quite a resurgence with the kind of black thing at the moment. Kendo hates the fact that you've got all these young kids listening to black metal bands that are actually just really overly polished. I can't even think of the names of these bands because, again, it's just not really my sound. But yeah, this is, you know, when it started, you got swarming opulence and there's just like brass. It's a cacophony of brass.
It's fucking madness is what it is.
And I got my hopes up because this was presented to us by Chris Smart, who sent me this on Twitter. And yeah,
thanks, Chris.
Chris often sends news stories and things that we can talk about, and he said that he'd be really interested in particular to get Mike's feedback on this. So I'm going to pass you over to Mike.
I haven't given it a full listen, just to put that out there, so there's not any impression that I've sat and really dissected this. I've had a listen to a couple of tracks on the way here, and I listened to the tracks for a couple of minutes while we've been sitting together, basically. Which isn't usually the format we go with the album club. We usually take the albums away and give them 4, 5, 6 listens and try and think of things that we like and don't like, and if there's like points that we could bring up or interesting conversations from it, then we'll go that way. But this one's a bit more thrown into the air and see what happens. My initial reaction to it, when same as Levi with the brass and stuff, my brain works in really strange ways, and I have a stupid sense of humour. So the first thing I thought was someone has recreated the Coronation Street theme, but completely dissonant. So over the top of the opening with the brass section, it being quite, obviously meant to be quite charged and building a lot of tension, I was singing like an asshole.
A guitar soul.
A guitar soul. Yeah. But an arsehole nonetheless.
You know, the best part about me saying that is we've probably got a bunch of listeners that have just heard me say that and gone, oh, I suddenly understand what their name is.
I hope not. If they get into episode 14.5 and just realising that because of guitar souls, because it's a good amalgamation of the word guitar and arsehole, then I'm sorry folks, but you need to be quick on the uptake. Come on. Anyway, I'm much of the same idea as Levi, the same mindset and mentality. I don't listen to a lot of bands that have that blackened influence. I've never been really into black metal itself. I don't mind a few kind of blackened thrash bands or like blackened death metal, but even then, it's very few and far between. I like some early Behemoth. I don't know if Flesh God Apocalypse fall into that or not, but a couple of bands that have got that kind of vibe anyway. I did find that from what I've listened to of Imperial Triumphant, which is the first few tracks and then into Chernobyl Blues, it's really unsettling, and I think that's a big part of it. I think it's meant to be hard to listen to. As much as I do love chaos in music and dissonance itself as a tool, that's how I see it. It needs to be a tool. There needs to be tension and release. I think there needs to be build up for something to come from it. And maybe I've not got to that part of the album yet, or maybe I've missed that part of tracks because I've not sat and really listened through it. But from what I've heard so far, it's not the kind of thing I could really sit and listen to a lot. I mean, if, for example, I was thinking of, like, someone asked me, what's the weirdest and darkest album you've heard recently or in a while or at all in terms of just atmosphere? This might come up. There was another crazy music project called Stalag, another one called Gulag, and Stalag was recordings of mental patients mixed together, like screaming and all sorts, and apparently it was put together by someone who posed as a psychiatrist in a mental health institution somewhere in the US, recorded his patients obviously without any consent, and turned into this completely horrendous, unsettling fucking soundtrack. And that is the same effect on me as this does. It's unsettling to listen to. I've got quite a predisposition to pick up melody, whether that be completely outside of minor and major or poppy as it fucking comes. And as I say, with Imperial Triumphant, I really struggle to find where that is. And I say, to be fair again, it might be just because I haven't listened to it a lot.
Yep.
It could well be that I listen through it and go, actually, I really like that bit because there's a lot of heaviness in that, and like chromaticism and striking chords that don't make sense and parts that just shouldn't match. And I don't want to put the album down in terms of instrumentation because it does sound good. And I get what Levi's saying as well, again, with the production, because you can hear that it's polished, but also it sounds like they're being careful not to make it sound like everything's completely polished, like electric drum kit with perfect samples and everything's got just its right place. Like that, there's some eeriness isn't right, but it's like almost claustrophobia to the mix. The brass and stuff's obviously very brash and in your face and sits well with each other. I think I don't know if that's probably programmed. I can't imagine they've hired a band to play all of that, but if that's programmed, it's going to come out as clean. But the band itself, there's parts of that where it's really close in the mix, and I'm assuming that's part of the intention of it.
Yep.
So my feelings on it are I would need to give it a good few more listens before I could say for definite whether I like it, but my first initial reaction is it's no for me.
Yeah, I think you're also missing that you'd struggle to give it a few more listens because it's hard going. And I find it really interesting that there's it's the same with when I meet Party Cannon fans or just that slam death metal thing. Like I find it fascinating that there's people that just go crazy for like the slam death thing. And the same with this. Like I know there's an audience out there, and I think they should be studied.
I think it'd be interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I would put.
Maybe those were the people that appeared in the previous recordings you were talking about, the patients.
Maybe.
Please explain to me what you like about Imperial Triumphant.
I mean, that's not far off of what Stalag sounds like, and Gulag's not much better. That's recordings from an actual Gulag somewhere in the Eastern Bloc. Jesus. And again, mixed together, just track on track on track on track, people screaming, being tortured, hurt, fucking starving, God knows what else. Or at least that's how it's marketed. I would recommend anyone who doesn't enjoy life to go and check it out. If you have any quality of life and enjoyment, probably not worth listening to because it's really fucking weird and grim. But that's kind of just what that reminded me of.
I'll throw some thoughts out. Go
on. Go on. That's fine.
Okay, so what I would say with this is that I like that they are moving with the times and trying to do the new thing. Like the idea 10, 15 years ago, well, YouTube wasn't really that much of a thing back then, but 10, 15 years ago, if you said to a band, what you want to do is you want to spend a lot of time, effort and money into recording an album, then you want to post the entire thing for free on YouTube, musicians would have laughed at you and said, don't be ridiculous, this is our product. So it's good to see that.
How long did you say that would have been laughed at? 10 years?
10 years ago.
I would disagree with you because that's when MySpace had a boom, and that's generally how a lot of bands got to be known.
I think bands tended to give away like a couple of tracks from an album and then try and sell the album.
You might be right.
But
sorry, anyway, the idea being that there's
I may have got the number wrong,
to
say 20 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. The idea that...
So it's good that they're doing that.
Yeah.
But I think we're also living in the time where the album is dead. The album itself, as a full piece of art, is a dying medium because it's very difficult to get people's attention for that. This is 56 minutes long. Singles seem to be where it's at. Like, it makes more sense to record an album and just release a track every month as a single, make a big deal out of it, than it does to release one full piece of art like this. So
EPs are quite big that way as well. We had this conversation with Rusty, did we not?
Yes.
Yeah, so it seems to be recurring themes in our conversations.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. Attention span, especially keeping people's attention span when there is so much music, like so much readily available, literally at your fingertips. Yep. You've got Spotify, you've got Google Play, you've got whatever other fucking, I think these aren't really exists anymore, but YouTube, the content available is never ending.
But therein lies the problem with this. Like, why have you not just posted the best track on the album as well?
What if this is meant to be a concept album that we don't know the backstory of, and that the idea is you listen to the full thing?
No, totally fair, and I can counter it, but it's not a fair counter. My counter will be knocked out. The point I'm trying to make is that this is 56 minutes of music, and if you're trying to get people, if like you're a new band and you're trying to get people interested in your music, currently I need to invest 56 minutes into you before I've made that decision, and that's a lot of time in 2018 to ask of people.
Well, considering I totally agree with you, because we've listened to 3-4 tracks off this, and we can already give quite a reasoned summary of what we feel about it. And that's not even 56 minutes, that's 20, 25?
Yeah.
So yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, people have made their mind up within the first few minutes.
I can make the comment that it was either in the first or second track that there was, for some reason, just repeating on every single beat. The guitar player was striking the top 4 open strings and then just pushing them down with a whammy bar a bit and then letting them come up. And that went on for like a minute, like on every beat. And I was like, stop it. Like, what? Stop it. Chernobyl Blues, like, I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I'm not entirely, like, a lot of atmosphere at the start of it, but then there's vocals in it, obviously. I'm not entirely sure if maybe this band are from Eastern Europe, or if they just went for the most stereotyped, cliche, drunken Russian person to be singing over it, and it's trying to be funny. But I didn't know what to make of it. Like, I didn't know whether I was supposed to take it seriously or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I couldn't decide. None of that was really made clear to me when I was presented with this. So I don't know if this is supposed to be fun or...
I'm going to go with the hazard, I guess, sorry, the song titles, the band's title, the album title, the art, and the way it's presented on YouTube. I think it's meant to be fairly serious. I don't know if it's meant to like portray any serious point or message, but it definitely isn't there to be just ignored by the looks of it, or to be seen as like a parody or a mockery kind of thing. I want to give it more of a try, but I really struggled with it, like really. And as I said earlier, like tension release, just to go back to the point I was going to make, like I really find that if you're going to do that kind of thing, have that really almost unenjoyable frenetic musical parts where there's not really any discernible sense, unless you're musically minded and you like to overthink things, which Levi's probably the same as me. I do when I listen to things. I try and analyse it, like without even meaning it. Like, what's the time signature, or can I even catch on to what the pulse is? Can I work out where the repeats come in, and what it's building to, and can I guess where it's going to build to, and where's it going to come from there? Or where's it going to go to from there, sorry. Is there going to be release? Is it just going to be tension? Is it going to swell? Is it just going to stay as it is? Is that the device they're using? I just couldn't make head nor tails of this. It just felt as if it was the same constant harsh vibe. And that's not a bad thing, it's just not really for me. Yeah. My point was going to be that, I know you're saying like you don't really get the brutal death metal thing as well with that. People going crazy for it, and there being that harshness to it, and that maybe tension's the wrong word if that's the way you feel, but I think that's where brutal death metal and kind of slam stuff differentiates from the black and stuff, especially like this, because there's a lot of crazy riffs that generally are unfollowable unless you're really into guitar or you just want to listen to people playing fucking incoherent notes at 300 BPM. But it all builds towards something where the drums are going fast as fuck, the guitar's playing a couple of stabs, and there'll be some quick or slow dragged out, but nonetheless powerful change of vibe in the music into something with a bit more punch, something that's a bit more listenable. And there's like the way I've heard it described generally as caveman riffs, because they're so basic and knuckle dragging, but that's what it builds to. That's where the tension releases, and that's where it's meant to build to. And I haven't found anything on Imperial Triumphant that matches that feeling for me.
Okay, cool. Well, Chris, thank you anyway for submitting the
send us more
suggestion. Yeah, as Mike says, we're always willing to take on board people's suggestions and spend our time checking out things that you think we'll enjoy and also things that you think we'll hate. I am okay with that. Mike looks like he's about to...
I'm going to just try and get the proper spelling of this. There, it's there. Right, so Chris, in return, because you sent us some madness, I'm going to send you some madness. If you would like to check out Stalag Project Misanthropia, that is the first one I heard, and it's unenjoyable, is the only way I can really describe it. Experimental doom metal from the Netherlands, apparently. Stalag is Stalagh, project with a K, then Misanthropia, is the first album, the first iteration of them I've heard, and it's I'm gonna make Levi listen to it after this, so I'll maybe make that his album club album one week, see what he does. Give that a try, mate. Give it a listen. Please send us a wee message, let us know what you think of it, and well, we can talk about it. We can talk about fucking crazy music till I'm bleeding through the ears, which might happen if I listen to both these albums in a row.
Well, talking about more successful albums, I meant to talk about this actually on the full episode, but cool, we've got an extra little thing that we can talk about. You see that Thriller is no longer the greatest, the best, the biggest selling album in United States history. It's been overtaken.
By what?
Eagles.
Really?
Yeah. Eagles. Greatest hits.
Greatest hits?
I don't know if that counts, does it?
No.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? Let's bring up the actual
story. You know how I feel about it? I was going to give you a greatest hits album to listen to, and I thought, no, I'm not going to do that, because that is a fucking
cop out.
Aye, it's the same reason I wouldn't give you a live album that wasn't like just an album performed live.
I mean, if someone said to me, "What do you think of Toto?"
I'd say, hold the line.
I
thought I shit puns today. I'm sorry.
I need a minute. Wow, that was magical. That's going up as an edited clip. Well done. If someone asked me to give them a Toto recommendation, I would just recommend Falling in Between Live. So that is a live album, because it's got all of their best songs on there and it's like ridiculously overproduced. But anyway,
if it's an album that stands out better than their actual studio albums, that's different, because that's the exception to the rule. But a greatest hits is just a fucking cop out.
Eagles have officially taken over Thriller. Their greatest hits 1971 to 1975 has overtaken Jackson's Thriller, reclaiming the top spot nearly a decade after the King of Pop's death. So this is in America. The Recording Industry Association of America recently recalculated sales of the Best of collection and certified the LP as 38 times platinum, pushing the 33 times platinum Thriller to second place. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Like, oh no, stop.
Plenty.
There we go. There's a copyright strike.
Personally, I think that is... how can they count that? Surely they should have like separate things for like compilation albums, because of course they're going to sell absolutely fucking millions, because they're going to like appeal to either people that don't really know the band and want to get into them, not diehard fans, or people who, as well as the diehard fans. What? No,
you're totally right.
But
I think actually the reason Michael Jackson's Thriller has sold so well is probably for that reason. People think of like, oh, Michael Jackson. Everyone goes on about Michael Jackson. He's great. What Michael Jackson album do you buy? Oh, you buy Thriller. That's all of Michael Jackson's best songs are on that. It basically is a fucking best of.
I don't think that's true. I think that's a good segue into learning Michael Jackson's style, because all the albums combined have all got some madness in them. I mean, History's a compilation album, isn't it? I mean, you couldn't really include that. That's 3 discs. There's
Yeah,
a lot of content on that.
Yeah, I don't think you worry about that one overtaking Thriller though.
No, definitely not. But that's my point. Is like you're going to start with Thriller because it's maybe the most well-known hits, but it's not all the best songs. It's a lot of good songs. It's a fucking great album.
Yeah.
It's recognised worldwide because it is what it is. It's a fucking beauty. But I don't think that's like the be-all and end-all of Michael Jackson. I really don't.
No, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. But I'm not talking from an educated perspective. I'm talking from I want to buy a Michael Jackson album. I want some Michael Jackson songs. You probably go for Thriller over anything else. I totally can't get on board with this being taken on the same level as Thriller because we talk about the art of the album and we just did it with I've already forgotten their name, Triumphant
Madness.
Yeah, whatever.
I wasn't Triumphant Madness.
Whatever they were called. Triumphant Indulgence. Let's go with that. When you look at album art, like not the cover of the album, but the art of recording an album, it's a collection of songs that were written at a time to be released as a thing. So Thriller is an album. It is a collection of songs that was put together and released as a package. So to take the Eagles' greatest hits from this period to this period, it's not quite the same thing. That's the best of lots of different times.
That's the best of the Eagles before they all died in a plane crash and other people lived off their memories.
What? Did that happen to Eagles or did that happen to Leonard Skinner?
Oh, was it Leonard Skinner? Sorry, I'm talking shit then. But I think the Eagles are still going in some iteration with no original members, is that correct?
No, they've got lots of original
Is it? Okay,
members,
ignore me then, I'm talking shit, sorry. Getting it mixed up.
Eagles, it really sounds like we're bashing on Eagles, and I'm not, because they're a great band, absolutely great band with loads of great songs. We'd really need Barry McAleenan on if we wanted to talk about Eagles because,
take it easy.
Yeah, I think if you cut him, so you're never gonna top. You're never gonna top. Wait, hold the line.
No, of course not.
Yeah, if you cut him open, I reckon he'd probably bleed Eagles. So I just thought it was interesting. Thought it was worth mentioning.
Yeah, definitely.
Personally, I don't really count it. And also, of course, we're only talking about America. Sales in America. So,
and what we're also talking about is the Recording Industry Association of America, the RIAA, to which I say, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Well, I mean, they literally just track record sales, and this is a record that has sold. I don't think they get into the philosophy of, can we really consider this an album?
But so what? Fuck them.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
So should we move on to the unknown subject?
I honestly thought that album being brought back up was going to be the unknown subject, but let's go for it.
No, it's not the unknown subject. That just occurred to me when we were talking about albums. I was sitting and I was thinking to myself, what the hell are we going to talk about? Maybe we could do like more of a discussion type thing. Maybe we could talk about, you could give your recommendations of what people, if you like, you've never listened to metal before and you want to start listening to metal, what would you give people as like the history of metal? How would you ease them into it? And I could do the same type of thing with country music or jazz or whatever. And maybe we'll do that in future. Who knows? Yeah. But then I thought, fuck it. Let's do a little bit more of a getting to know you thing for people that are listening to the show.
Right, okay.
So I figured we could talk about things, and this we will be going for the music aspect, but I think we're going to bring in something else. So both Mike and I are really avid video gamers. Yeah?
Okay.
And we're very, very different in our tastes in games.
I think you have a lot more time or have played a lot more recently than I have. Not you have more time, but you have more, or have played more games in recent years. I really haven't seen much apart from like AAA titles, and the pre-order games early access that I'm really, really hyped for. So this will be quite good. So okay, go for it. You're
really into what are you playing at the moment? I know you were playing
PUBG.
Yeah,
pretty much. The last few games I've played, maybe say the last 5, have been PUBG, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. For any of you that don't know, if you live underneath a rock or on the fucking moon, Arma 3. With a load of mods to basically play it as the same idea as DayZ, which is number 3 for me. Going into single player games, Hitman, the most recent Hitman. I just started that.
Not played that yet.
Like the first 2 missions, which I think is actually a training level and then another mission on top of that. Pretty good. Quite enjoy it. I've always loved the Hitman games. And
that's it. That hesitation is exactly my point.
Right?
Like, you're really, really, really into multiplayer games. You like playing online with groups of people, and I'm the complete opposite of that. I can't think of anything worse than playing online with people.
Because you hate people?
I mean, I'm dabbing my toes in Monster Hunter World at the moment, and I'm playing online with Sean just as an opportunity to, keep up to date with Sean.
Aye.
But that's, even then, I like Haley, my wife, makes fun of me. She's like, "You hate gaming online. You always say how much you hate gaming online." I'm like, it's a different thing though, because when I play Monster Hunter Online, it's a team experience. Me and Sean are teaming up to take on the computer. It's not PvP.
But there's plenty of games where it's PvE that you can play multiplayer.
Like
Left
4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead's a good one, actually.
I know my stuff.
Technically speaking, you could say that parts of DayZ are PvE, because if you decide not to interact with any other players, or you play an empty servers, which you can choose to do so, you're just playing against the environment. Other players will do the same thing if there's a couple of you on. I'm kind of struggling to think of any just now. But again, that's because I've not played a lot of games recently, if I'm telling you the truth.
I'm not going to call you a liar.
But fuck you, you're a liar.
No, but I think you make the point by saying that you play a lot of PUBG. Like, that was an extremely popular game, and it's kind of fell out of public favour now. But
for Fortnite, which is basically the same game, except you have building mechanics. Yeah, I mean they've just combined the parts of
it's a totally different art
PUBG
style as well,
and Rust together, basically.
The only game that I can think of that I have done the same kind of thing that you've done with PUBG is The Binding of Isaac, which, for those unfamiliar, I have like Binding of Isaac artwork tattooed all over this arm, going like from Ed McMillan games, going from wrist up the shoulder. Being
quite honest, like, I remember you just starting to play Super Meat Boy, and then Binding of Isaac, and just about every time I come in this house, it's on the TV.
My wife really got into it as well, but generally speaking, I like a story in a game. I'm going somewhere with this. This does tie into music.
Cool.
I like a story in a game, and I like to have a defined goal, something to achieve, and then once I'm done with that, like, I won't be playing The Binding of Isaac anymore. I'm done with it.
Liar.
Because I'm done with it. I've got the platinum trophy.
Oh, you're done with it then.
I've done it. I'm fucking.
For those of you that don't know Levi, he is. As much as you know he's a perfectionist, he's also the same with computer games. He has to complete it. Platinum trophy, like, polish the fucker. There's nothing else you can do, and then that's it. Never touch again. Goodbye. Bin.
Yeah, I mean, I could, with The Binding of Isaac, I totally could put it on and enjoy playing it, but all of the goals have been removed now. I'm literally doing it for the fun of it. I struggle with that with any games, like playing for the fun. It's like, for me, the fun is the challenge, the goal. And you're really into kind of the opposite. You can play games that are open-ended, and you can play them over and over again and have a different experience every time. But I wonder, this is where the music thing ties in, right? I wonder if that has had an impact on the way we experience music in games. Because when you're playing a game like that, what are you doing musically?
When you play,
do you play stuff on Spotify?
Games?
Do you play stuff? So you just completely immerse yourself in.
When I'm playing, like, if I'm playing PUBG, for example, like, you're playing a game that is pretty much real time first or third person shooter. You have to rely on your teammates, so you've got a headset on, you've got comms, usually through like Discord or TeamSpeak or whatever.
Right.
Or if you're playing with random teams in the game and you just jump into a random lobby, you've got like a team chat. But you've also got the environment you need to listen out for. You need to listen for vehicles, you need to listen for gunshots.
Sure.
There's planes that fly over with like loot drops, all that kind of stuff. Like,
so you're fully immersing yourself in the game.
You try to. I mean, I think that all came from the biggest influence I can think of that I'm aware of that being the norm, or what set it as the norm, was DayZ, because that was, still is, although it's completely fucking shit compared to what it could have been. Back in the days when it was just an Arma 2 mod, everything about that was immersion. Everything. Like, dynamic lighting. You had a 225 square kilometre map. You could run for an hour and a half and not see anyone, over hills, through mountains, fucking into rivers, and find like towns abandoned. Maybe you'd be lucky enough to find some food and fucking hordes of zombies and shit. But a lot of that was about the immersion of sound as well. So you're in the woods, you can hear trees creaking.
Yep.
You get close enough into towns and cities, you can hear generators, things running with electricity in the buildings. You can hear zombies, you hear other players running about, you hear gunshots, like all of that stuff obviously adds to the immersion of that. So there's not a lot of games that I can sit and listen to music to as well as when I'm playing, unless I'm playing something that's just like you're playing Binding Isaac, you're just grinding out.
Yeah, like for the last couple of months of playing Isaac, I have the music in the game turned off. Still have the sound effects on, but all the music turned off, and then I've got Spotify on my PlayStation, going through my headphones. So I've got the combination of the two, and I can absorb new music whilst also playing the game. But yeah, so hopefully you can see where I'm going with this now. So for me, video games were my first love in life. A long time before music. I didn't enjoy music until maybe 12. I had no interest in it, because why listen when I can listen and watch, kind of thing. But actually, like many people my age, without realizing it, I had music programmed into me via computer games.
Yes.
And I'm not going to go down the route of, isn't it a shame that that's lost? But I have a fascination with that stuff still, and I find it very interesting how much of an influence that has probably had on a lot of people without them even realising it.
I really don't think that is lost personally, but continue.
Well, I think there's people that stop playing video games and they played video games till they were 7 or whatever, and now they love music, but they probably forget the fact that if you put on like Mega Man and you listen to the soundtrack to the Mega Man games, or the Castlevania games, or Final Fantasy games, like Final Fantasy was a big one for me. The music in Sonic, I always loved the music in Sonic. It's
Michael Jackson wrote most of the first game, to be fair.
Sonic 3. And
was it Sonic 3? That was the first one for some reason?
Sonic 3.
Sorry.
And
his involvement was...
Yeah, no, even then it's still... Some people are like, no, he did, and other people are like, no, he didn't. We redid everything when he left the project.
Of course he did. Of course you're just going to overwrite Michael Jackson's music. Of course you are.
Yeah. So, I thought that the discussion of music in games was a good thing to talk about.
Definitely.
So evidently you're playing a lot of games where you don't experience music, but what memories do you have of music in games that kind of touches you? And do you crave it? Is it something like I have video game soundtracks in my CD collection?
I don't have a CD collection, to be honest. But when I do think of playing computer games nostalgically, because I've kind of moved on to different styles of games that I play, absolutely. Sonic is a big one. On the radio at the moment, right? This is a pure weird thing. I think it's BBC Radio 1. If it's not them, it's like fucking Heart Radio or somebody. Anyway, there's a bit in one of the broadcasts in the morning on one of the channels where they're talking to people phoning in. I don't remember exactly what the part's about. Anyway, in the background of that is fucking music from Sonic. And every time I hear it, all I can think of is a casino level in Sonic. And I'm like, where did they pinch that from? And not make the association that that's it. Because, I mean, the people on the radio are roughly the same age as me, maybe a bit younger. Maybe didn't play the fucking Mega Drive. What was the
hashtag best console?
I thought you were going to fucking hit me with Nintendo shit. No, Sega all the way. Sega just fucked it because they were too ahead at the time and didn't really have a lot of good games, in my opinion. Think about what consoles are like now, what the Dreamcast brought to the table that everybody missed out on at the time.
Yeah.
Sorry to fucking totally digress.
I really enjoyed the Dreamcast, yeah. Crazy Taxi on Dreamcast, man.
Crazy Taxi was fucking great, but see, maybe that's what you're talking about, or maybe that fits into your conversation of it being lost, because the music wasn't programmed for that. It wasn't written for the game and for the story and for the vibe. They picked a band that fit, obviously made that connection with the Offspring and went, fucking put your songs on here and it'll be great. And that was, for me at least, the first kind of iteration I really remember of there being mainstream music in that. Outside of, was it not the original Doom? It was apparently Megadeth that wrote the fucking theme for it.
I think that was a rumour. Yeah. But I'm glad you remember that.
Heavily influenced. Yes. I mean, there's not anything about that doesn't scream to you like...
I mean, what you sang there could have been Doom. It also could have been Master of Puppets.
Exactly. And right away you think, well, that's going to be like Mustaine and Hetfield's collective influence on music. In computer games, which is cool, and you'll get guys that probably talk about it as well. Was it John Carmack?
Yep.
I think he was quite a big metal fan, and he obviously understood the idea of music in games being part of the atmosphere. What was the game that I recommended to you? I can't remember the name of it, for you to play, the 8-bit fucking side-scroller, and you played it with the music off, and I fucking went mental. Undertale, yeah. Undertale was the last game I played where what you're talking about was really applicable. Like, the fucking soundtrack in that is
my bad.
Unbelievable.
It's because I played it on Vita, which is a portable. So
I get that, right?
I never played that with headphones in.
That's fair. I told him to go and play it on holiday, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll take it with me. That'd be good." I was when you're on holiday, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And you could, it was great, but and I was like, how good's the soundtrack? Didn't listen to it. I'm like,
I know.
No, you're missing out on half the fucking game.
But this is really it. So like, to me, soundtracks in games are super important. They really are.
They build just as much atmosphere as the art does. And I think, sorry to interrupt you, like, I tie that very heavily with the same way you see films or TV shows. Like, the score has got to match. Otherwise, you lose all that feeling, that atmosphere, and
you're right for what's happening.
Exactly, and like again, tension and release. It's this beautiful playoff between parts that are bad and what's going to happen, anticipation and worry and stress, to it's all resolved, or shit, the worst has happened. But there's still that payoff at the end, and music's really good at doing that.
How many people, let us know in the comments, how many people got into half of the bands that changed your life in your teens by playing Tony Hawk?
Oh man,
you know what I mean?
You know what? The original Tony Hawk was like somebody giving you your first actual mixtape.
Yeah.
Like that. There you go. There's fucking Goldfinger, Superman, right away.
Yeah.
Even the demo had that song in it when it was on the PlayStation disc, and that was groundbreaking.
Yeah.
What else was on that fucking Mega Man 3000? Not Mega Man. Is it Motor Man 3000? Worlds Collide?
Yeah. I mean, I know the song. I don't know who did it, but
something along the lines anyway.
But that paints a perfect picture, because I totally agree with everything you said there. It's your first mixtape. I can't remember really any of the songs that were in any of the Tony Hawk games. If you told me that they were there, I'll go, oh yeah, totally, I remember that. But the point is, I remember the music from that game. That's how important the game was.
Yes.
Because the game itself was the introduction to the music. Doesn't even matter what the tracks were. They exposed me to a bunch of music.
Yep. And if you played the game with the sound off, it would not be the same. The nostalgia is part of that music as well.
Yeah, they did like a remastered version of it on PSN. They did the same with Crazy Taxi as well. And the licenses for the music had expired. So like there's a PSN version of Crazy Taxi that doesn't have any Offspring in it. There's a remastered version.
That's a bastardization. That's not a version.
I know. Yeah, outrageous. But yeah, so I guess what I really wanted to talk about was games that with good music that you're passionate about, and I wanted to inspire our listeners to maybe go back and to be fair, you don't even need to play the games.
No, you don't.
Let's plays on YouTube, just watch people playing them, and there's a bunch of great YouTube channels that I follow religiously, like 8-Bit Music Theory, that often talk about, well, not often, always, that's all they do. They talk about and analyze the theory of video game music. I think that if you dig back into these older styles of composing, where chip tunes, as they describe them, where you're writing music for a system that was only capable of producing 4 different sounds, like on the NES, you could only have four sounds happening at once. So that limitation resulted in so much cool compositional stuff.
Oh, definitely.
And I believe that that's
even
probably...
like the sound effects in those games are really impressive, because they add to the music.
Yeah.
There's bits in it where you'll be listening, like, I'm trying to think, is it Super Mario World 3? It's ding 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 ding. You know what I'm on about? And then you've got like Yoshi, and it makes this crazy noise. And like, if you heard that music and you didn't hear the Yoshi bit, you'd be like, what's happened? Why are they just playing the music?
Yeah. It's...
Or when you see guys like doing guitar transcriptions and play through these things, you always see them doing the sound effects, like playing the harmonics in the 5th fret, like
for the coins.
Exactly. That. You know exactly what I was talking about before I even explained it properly.
Bring. Yeah, of course.
It's just...
There's been a huge, loads of guys, Super Guitar Bros did really well from doing covers of video game music.
Power Glove,
yeah.
Power Glove are really good, actually.
Is it Smooth McGrooves?
Smooth McGrooves does the acapella
versions of things.
His version of is it Guile's theme?
Yeah.
Da, 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 da. That's a fucking nailer.
Yeah.
What's the other one? It does Chemical Zone. Chemical Zone's fucking great for Sonic.
Listen to how excited you are and how passionate you are. So really, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to instill my a love of the old games that he used to play, and stop playing these terrible multiplayer games online.
And what you're going to find is this channel just becomes like me and Levi playing classic games. We'll be like Angry Video Game Nerd, except rather than tearing games to bits, we'll just play them.
He's fallen apart recently, man. He's
really?
Marred in controversy at the moment, unfortunately.
What happened?
What did happen?
You can tell me off air if you want.
What did happen? It's not that. He's fallen into the trap of he understands where he is politically. He judges people that are on the other side. So if there's any criticism of something that he wants to criticize, you must be stupid, you must have voted for this person, kind of thing.
Politicized his channel,
which ends up alienating half of your fucking audience. It's just a stupid thing to do.
Politicizing your channel when all you're talking about is bad video games from the 80s is asking for trouble.
I have my political views, you have your political views, but I'm sure we can both look at the camera and say, if you voted for Trump, cool. If you didn't vote for Trump, cool. Thanks for listening.
That was your choice.
Yes, thanks for listening.
That's how democracy fucking works.
Well done for engaging in it. You're not an idiot either way. I mean, maybe you are, but I'm not gonna tell you which way I go on that, because it doesn't really fucking matter. Anyway, my point. I'm really into my retro games. I've got Guacamelee 2 loaded up on my PS4 ready to play. I should be playing Monster
I've
Hunter.
actually got Guacamelee on Steam. I've never played it.
Oh mate, do it.
Gold edition.
Unbelievably good game. I platinumed that on Vita, and then they did a Super Championship Turbo edition of it on PS4.
I love that the name titles on these crazy games, man.
So I platinumed it again.
Of course you did.
Because I just couldn't not play that game again on PS4. That honestly is a killer game. So I'm really into those, retro games. I keep up to date with the AAA titles, but actually the thing that grabs me week on week is indie games. I love anything that takes me back to being a kid. I've just got... actually, you probably remember playing this with me. Do you remember playing Guns, Gore and Cannelloni with me?
Yes.
The second one of that came out this week. I had no idea it was coming, and I just saw it on the network. That was like the weird
side-scroller, and you played basically like an Italian mobster, and you just shot your way through zombies and shit.
Yeah, exactly.
It was fucking great.
That was good fun. So I saw that, and it was like a tenner, and I'm like, yeah, I'll give that a go. Why not? I'm sure I'll be able to sit down with someone.
What was that other game you had, and it was like all the guns in it were fucking ridiculous. Like you had a bullet that fired guns.
Enter the Gungeon.
Enter the Gungeon. That's the very one.
That's a killer game as well. Yeah, there's loads of cool games like that. Mercenary Kings I really enjoyed, and we've probably gone way longer than we needed to or should have.
Okay. Go play some old games, find some musical inspiration you maybe didn't think you had. I think it's funny you mentioned that. I think probably quite a lot of my ear for melody came from computer game music. It really wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I want to give it the love it deserves, because I think you're totally right on that. It's just it programs it in there from such a young age. And there's outside of the popular online multiplayer games like your Fortnites and PUBGs and all of that, there is still good video game music being made. And I didn't say this at all. To me, there's kind of a decline in the style of composition for video games. The higher and higher the levels of realism go in games, the more realistic you expect the music to be. The more cinematic the game is, the more cinematic and symphonic you expect the soundtrack to be.
Call of Duty falling right into Michael Bay.
Yeah. But then on the flip side, Doom.
Oh, Doom's fucking incredible. Mick Gordon, isn't it?
Yeah.
That shit's fucking unbelievable.
Yeah, that was a good.
I mean, that's like Meshuggah. Like an industrial feel.
Industrial Meshuggah, yeah.
Fucking
yeah.
Mick Gordon, if you're listening, which is very unlikely.
Yeah. Well done.
Top notch, son.
And I can't wait to see what you do on. I don't know if he's involved in the soundtrack for the new one.
I'm pretty certain he is, because
hopefully
the clip for it definitely sounds like his kind of compositions.
Yeah. So, video game music, I love it. Video games, I love them. I'm getting older, and I find less time to be able to play them. But no matter what way you spin it, I am still a 30-year-old man with video games tattooed all over my arm. And normally you could look at that and go, yeah, well, I understand, Levi. We all do stupid things when we were 15, 16. No, I had these all done this year. So
No, his stupid tattoos are hidden.
Stop it. No one is to see that.
Not to do with computer games.
No, it's not. You can go actually up as far as... Let's have a look. Yeah, you can't go any higher than that. That's as far up as his sleeve actually goes. It doesn't...
No further.
So yeah, please do let us know in the comment section below what are your thoughts on video games and video game music. Let us know some of your favourite games, your favourite soundtracks, your favourite video game composers. He's not one of my favourites. He's a pain in the arse.
He's not a very good composer.
No, he's terrible.
I mean, he doesn't really have a lot of like pitch control.
No, just very repetitive melodies.
Yeah. It lacks innovation.
Yeah, and let us know some of your favourite channels on YouTube that are dealing in that video game setting, be it theory analysis. I made the recommendation to Mike that he checks out the 8-Bit Music Theory video on the Shovel Knight soundtrack. There's an amazing breakdown of the, what makes the music in Shovel Knight so effective. It's one of my favourite videos, and I've watched it many times, probably 4 or 5 times, which is more than you need to watch a video on one concept, but just enjoy it that much.
Doesn't matter if you can go back and watch it again. You're always either reaffirming what your thoughts were or correcting yourself, or sometimes even picking up new stuff.
Or also just people that do video game music on their channels. I like that stuff too. I've got a couple of videos of me doing classical guitar arrangements of Final Fantasy themes on my channel.
Yeah, I remember sitting in your old flat and you playing some stuff actually.
Yeah, I've got
out the books.
Got a few books on that type of thing. So
about one of the only videos I've put online of me playing guitar that's just me sitting playing noodling is actually me trying to play the arpeggios from the start of Final Fantasy 7.
You do that anytime you pick up an extended range guitar. If there's 7 or 8 strings on it, you try and work out a good way to play it. I noticed that.
Well, even on a 6 string, I can do it with artificial harmonics, but hitting that harmonics, I can't.
Yeah. So there we go. Cool. So thank you everybody for listening. I hope you enjoyed that subject.
Oh no, I did actually. I thought, well, I was rather enthused, as I'm sure you could tell.
Yeah.
So the next episode will just be Levi and I playing computer games, probably playing the Sega. I've still got my Sega, by the way. I can bring that round one day, like loads of games. I've got all the Sonics except Sonic Pinball. I think it was a Japanese on the release, which is 1, 2, 3 Sonic and Knuckles, Sonic 3D. What?
I feel bad because I know I've told you this before, but right before I moved up to Scotland, I went through this like, fuck it, I've got a bit of money from my career now, so I'm going to start collecting retro video games again, and I bought myself a Mega Drive, and I got loads of games for it. I played it a few times, not as many as I probably should have, and then when it came to moving up to Scotland, I just threw it in the bin.
That's right, you did tell me that, because you are a fucking terrible person.
I know.
But it's alright, I play Slam Death Metal.
Yeah, so
we're not all perfect.
Cool, so until next time.
Bye fuckers.